Hi guys, I've just got a bit of a catch-up video for you today. So I haven't had a lot of time to edit videos in the last month due to my work, but I've done a little bit of work and I've filmed a few clips along the way. So I'll show you what I'm up to and we'll get caught up, and then I'll try and... I've gone on to back onto day shifts now. So because of the heat, I work at night. I work there by myself and I can make my own hours. So when it's hot, I just work at night, and it has been quite hot. Although this summer hasn't been a very hot summer at all. It's still been too hot for me to work during the day. So I'm going on to days as from tomorrow, and I'll be able to keep up then with the filming and of the editing of the videos for you. So you might see a bit more action on Rose Villa in the weeks to come. So before I get on to the clothesline, guys, I'm just going to show you a little bit of this building of the temporary toilet that I filmed also. So this temporary toilet is going to take the place of the toilet. If you have a look over there on the right hand side, that little window, that's our toilet at the moment. That toilet's going to be decommissioned because I want to remove that end of the building so that I can dig the footings for the major construction extension that we're doing. So I've got to build a toilet, and I've got to build a little bit of a hallway so that where that door and window is at the moment, that will be a walk through into another little hallway that goes to the right, and if you go to the left, that'll go into the toilet, which will be underneath the bathroom window. So I've got to get all that set up, and luckily the plumber is dragging his heels a bit and he hasn't come back to finish up our plumbing work, so he hasn't left us without a toilet. So I've got the new toilet there, just working out where the walls got to be and measuring up the walls so I can get stuck into doing some framework. So I love it when I can put the tool belt on and get stuck in, do some carpentry work. These days I quite often I'm just doing furniture. Well, I don't like calling myself a cabinet maker because I'm so much more than a cabinet maker, but I'm doing cabinet making work, we'll just say that. So using up more of the pack of timber that I bought, I'm going to end up using all of the pack of timber in all the rearranging of the walls inside the house and building this little extension here. It's just you know, you want to build a little extension, a little room or something. The amount of the amount of timber that you use to do a little job, it's pretty hard to believe, and timber is so expensive. This pack of timber that I bought, I got it for $1,100, and in the time it took me to get it delivered from when I first purchased it, which was several weeks, it had gone up 60%. So you don't want to be throwing away too much timber. So I'll keep all my offcuts, and you can use them for the noggins, or you know, little bits and pieces here and there, little blocks, soldiers and whatever you might need. You don't end up throwing out too much timber. Carpenters, one thing that good carpenters can do, and I'm not saying I'm a good carpenter, I know what I'm doing, but there's people that are much more experienced than I am, but I still try and use up all the offcuts so that I'm not throwing anything away. It's you know, especially when I'm doing it for myself, I don't want to outlay for more timber, and if I can just save the offcuts. And yeah, always cut the big pieces first. I learned that as an apprentice. I went and cut up a whole heap of noggins before I cut up the studs, and I ran out of timber for this little job. It was only a little job I was doing, And my boss goes, "What are you doing? Why have you got all these offcuts?" I said, "Well, I cut up the noggins and then I didn't have enough to get the studs out." He goes, "Hey, idiot, you got to cut the studs first and then you can get the noggins out of the offcuts from the studs." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay." So ever since then, I cut the big bits first. So just laying out the frame now. Got all that cut up quite easily with the circular saw. Like I said before, I'll get the drop saw set up, and I'll get a board across there with stops, especially for all the studs I'll need to cut, and I can just push it up against the stop and rather than measure each one. But for now, just doing it with the circular saw. Got the Milwaukee nail gun going. Awesome little nail gun that is. It's not really little, it weighs a ton, but does a good job. So Cooper's in bed still on this particular morning when I was doing this, and you'll see him in a minute. He managed to wake up just in time to help me put the frame in place. I'm scratching my head going, "Oh, how am I going to get this in there?" So here's Cooper. So we figured out, let's just get rid of this bit of iron and then we can drag it through the end there. Sometimes with my haste to get things done, I don't think ahead, because I'm not doing this every day. It's so easy to just forget little things that you would do if you're doing it every day. So yeah, there we go, got that in there, piece of cake with Cooper helping me. So I'm just going to level this up and nail it to the framework of the little veranda there, and put some green plugs down into the concrete. So Cooper's still half asleep, so he's not he's just taking it easy for the moment. So here we are, drilling down into the concrete. Cooper's going to get in and do it for me shortly. Just showing him a few tricks. There you go, go do that one, Coop. Cooper's an awesome little help. There's not always a lot he can do, because there's a lot he doesn't know obviously, but he gets in and he helps me, and he's a really awesome help. Cooper's actually just started school at a technical college, and he's actually just today he was filling out an application for a job, so he's keen to get in and he wants to be a carpenter. So I said, yeah, I can imagine him out building houses. Too bad I'll have my house built before he can come and do it for me, but oh well, he'll get in and help. So these walls from the outer wall into the iron, the back of the original building there, it's a bit of a pain, because what they did was they ran a pipe to just a drain pipe along the wall, and then they concreted it like on a sort of an angle up to where the iron is. So I haven't got a nice square edge there, so I've got to cut two studs instead of one, and then join them together so that I can skip over that little piece. It makes things a real hassle, but you know, it was easy enough done. So Coop's got the nail gun now. He loves to get in with the nail gun, and I'll just hold everything for him and he goes for it. So all these little things, he doesn't even realise how much he's learning when he's helping me here. Just being able to use a nail gun and not shoot it out the side when he starts work, it just make the bosses appreciate, you know, what he can already do. So I'm just trying to teach it as much as I can as we go along. So this is what I was saying about the two studs. So what I worked out though, bit of a cheat, I can just shoot the nails through the stud and into the iron. Just go straight through the iron to position it, because this is a temporary building. I am building this all pretty nice. You know, you'll see later on with the insulation and the plasterboard and, you know, the doors and the windows and all that stuff. Lighting, and I'm putting a PowerPoint in there. It could be like this for 2 years. So I really need to make it, I need to make it so it's all waterproof. I need to make it so that it's not too hot or too cold in there, because it will be our main toilet for quite some time. So just gonna try and make it as good as possible, as if it was staying there, but it will be knocked down once we've built the what I plan on doing is building the two-story structure to get the roof on there. It's also going to have an attic room, but I'll get the roof on, and I'll get all the walls lined with the insulation, and then I'm going to build the ensuite up on the first floor, and then I'll demolish all this piece all this building underneath it. So I'll show you in more detail what I'm going to do, because it's pretty good the way it is. I can leave the bathroom and toilet standing, and I can do all the footings all the way around across the back of the main building, and obviously out here where all the dirt is, that's not going to be a problem. But I just got to demolish the toilet, and yeah, it's all I need to do inside is relocate the hot water service, which is going to be easy enough to do. I can do that myself, and I'll be able to get all the footings dug. It just means when we go to the toilet, we'll have to step over a trench and then over the footing, which will be I'm guessing it's going to be about 300 mil or a foot wide, so we'll step over that. But I might put some planks so we don't, you know, go on our toilet at the middle of the night and have to try and navigate through where there's holes and raised and lowered sections and all that kind of stuff, or wet concrete when we happen to be concreting it. That would be a bit of a surprise when you're half asleep. More teaching Cooper. So there you can see that notch at the bottom a bit easier there. Luckily the pipe was just inside where that frame needed to go. So yeah, you can see the door and the window there. Once that's cut open, that'll make that sort of quite wide, and then you'll come down into this sort of a hallway that I'm making, and out the back door that goes along the veranda. But that'll be pretty cool because we've got the barbecue there, and it'll be a good little space coming out under the veranda. I do hate coming out the back door and virtually walking straight into the heat, but at least when you open up the door and you walk out, you won't be taking one step and ending up in the hot sun. So you can see I'm just making sure everything's square, everything's level, plumb, all the rest of it. And one thing, it was probably a bit of a mistake, but it's turned out to be a good thing. The veranda floor is on an angle. It does fall away, so if there's any water that splashes in, so because I made the frame square, any water that gets on the top is going to run to the side, but we're not going to get much water. I mean, I don't believe there's any leaks in that roof, even though it is as old as the hills. So now I'm just framing this out to put the window, the window that's next to the back door at the moment, that's going to come over here, and it's going to have louvers there that we can open up for a bit of light, bit of breeze, and a bit of ventilation for the so yeah, sorry about that, I had to reset the mic. So yeah, so just finishing off this framework for the window. So I've got some of this now. I know what is isolation. I don't know exactly what its the correct name is, but ever since I was an apprentice, we just called it isolation. So silver goes in, colour normally blue goes out. So I've got a staple gun. I'm just stapling that to the studs, just pulling it as tight as I can. So this is a lot easier job when you've got someone helping you, but I managed to get it done. So obviously I'll cut the doors and the window out. Plenty of staples just so that it doesn't flap around when I put the insulation on the inside. So just trimming this window section out. Bit of a pain in the bum this top because I've got that little I don't know what you call it, the little roof section that comes down to give us more shade in through the windows. Had to sort of nut out as I was doing it what was the best way to do it, so I decided just cutting a small piece on the end. And then with this stuff, you overlap it about 200 mil, just so that there's no water that can. This stuff does seal the moisture. It does a few different things, but one of the things it does is stops the moisture from getting through. Like the blue board that I'm going to put on the outside, the cement sheeting. I'm not going to get fancy and flush it all and render it. This is only, like I said, it's a 1 to 2 year duration that we'll be using this little room, and then I'll be ripping it down. So I just want to make it so it doesn't leak for the meantime. So I'm just cutting out the bottom of the door there. Now what I'm doing here is I've got some aluminium flashing that has a sticky back, so I'm just putting this down so that water can't seep in underneath the frame, which it would if I didn't put it there. It would pull underneath the frame and you'd be walking in puddles. So I'm just doing this side to start with because I'm going to put the blue board up here first, and then I'll continue on with the other bit when I get back onto the job. Just making sure I'm covering all the spots that could leak. So now I've got my cement shears out, and just cutting this. I think I needed to trim a little bit off the length. So anyway, that goes up and in, sits over that flashing, and the water, any water that gets in, it continually runs down and out. There's no way it can run in unless it can go against gravity and go up, which it won't. So just using some galvanised clouts to nail this on. I'll put a bit of beading up the top just to seal that once I've got all the sheets on. And of course wiring. So as I said, lights, very important, and a power point in the little hallway section, just so we can run power out to a light, or a if the Bluetooth speaker goes flat, that kind of thing. So I'm not showing you the whole bit, that'll be pretty boring, but so then Julie come out, and she you can see the string line that I put up there to hold the insulation up. So Julie came and gave me a hand to get that in. So you can see the thickness of these bats. It actually cooled the whole back of the building just by putting that there. So this is what I did to my ute. So someone hit me in my door, and then I fell asleep and I wrote the whole ute off. It's a complete write-off, so I've lost that ute. So that's gone now. And then a week later, someone ran into my parked Caprice right outside the house and wrote that one off. So I think it might have been 8 days. Yeah, look at it, totaled it. So, and I just spent $8,000 on rebuilding the motor on this car, so that was rather upsetting. And the trailer got hit in the process. So hit the trailer and then into my car. And it was the person who actually bought the family farm. But luckily, I bought this sexy new ute. So I've got some wheels again. So now finally we're onto the clothesline. So I've got some 135 by 45 for the cross pieces, which is what I'm just cutting up now. And I've got some, it's actually 130 by 130 laminated posts, and it's all in treated pine. So it should last a fair while. I can't tell you what rating it is, but treated pine is generally rated for quite a long time in ground. I know there's another one that you can get that is guaranteed for maybe 50 years or something in the ground. If this one decides to get rotted and get wobbly, I'll just have to make a new one. So anyway, I'm just I ended up with 10 holes for line and 200mm apart, so there's a nice gap there to get plenty of breeze blowing the washing. So here's a little trick I was keen to show you. So notching, so cut across in about 5mm intervals. You don't want them too big. So I just started off with the where the notch starts, and then I went outwards. So what I like to do is I hammer in my chisel and then I wiggle it sideways, and what it does, and then you can just move it if you've got a big one like this, it actually shears off all of the, you can see it's left it with hardly anything to chisel off. But I've got a nice sharp chisel. I just need to quickly run across the grain. If I run across the grain, it won't dig in, it'll just take off the little bits that are broken. But you can see how easy that's coming off, and I believe that's a lot easier than just hitting them with a hammer. It leaves it quite clean before you have to start chiseling. So, but always have a sharp chisel. A razor sharp chisel is going to make your life so much easier. So there we go. How easy was that? And that was in actual time, I think. Yep. That was in actual time, not sped up. So now I've sped up the second one just so that, you know, I mean, you've seen what to do. I'll just quickly get this one done for you. It's a bit tedious doing all these cuts, but the closer you go together, the easier it makes the job later on. Now this one was a bit of a pain because there was a knot. I shouldn't have used that end. I should have turned it round and used the other end. But even with that, I just had to get a hammer and get a bit more force to clean up where that knot is. But I still got it done pretty easily. So I'm going to add some decorative fluting and chamfers on the posts, and it will be similar to what the post around the veranda of the house will be. So I'm just sort of laying that out now, and I'll get the router and route that in. It's probably one of the bigger parts of the job, but I believe it makes it look so much better than just having a flat post. So I've got my router here with my 45 bearing cutter. So I'm just going to run down each corner, just checking the depth. Always check the depth on a bit of scrap. So you can see it's a pretty simple job, but it's time consuming when you get two posts. I mean, when I do the veranda posts, I'm going to be routing for hours. I always like to run the tape and check heights. Just double check when I'm doing things rather than, you know, I mean, I'm not working to a plan. This is all just work it out as I go. So now I'm starting on the fluting. So I'm starting off with one down the center. So I've got 8 of those to do, and this is a 10mm flute cutter I've got in the router. So you just got to watch your lines and make sure you yeah, I didn't end up using the footage from the GoPro, but I still like to get it. So now I'm going to do a flute halfway in between the center one and the chamfer, and I can just go down both sides to get the 3 flutes. So a bit of a smoko break. Julie's made me a nice salad sandwich, and I've got my cooler that was from a paint rep. Awesome little, it's a nice little trolley one. Looks like a can as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I was just trying it out, I hadn't used it before. So here we go, back into the fluting. So, and once again, like what I said, I've said it before in other things I'm doing, when I do something like this, I like to make each of the little bits of timber between the chamfer and the next flute all completely equal. So when you have a look at those flutes, each bit is the same size. So little bit of accurate measuring, and it just makes the job look so much better. So, you know, it doesn't take very long to just measure, you know, perhaps do a little, if I had a bit of scrap, I'd probably run it on a bit of scrap to check it, but I didn't. I just sat it on there and measured it. So I'm just screwing the 2 cross bars, putting a I don't know if what you call it, maybe a stringer in between the 2, just to, so when you got the weight of the clothes on the wire, it won't pull the posts inwards. So I think that's a very important part of this type of clothesline. So now, because the plumber hasn't been and cleaned up all my mess for me, I've got to do it by hand. So I think the tile was a bit flat on the wheelbarrow, but oh well, I managed to get it all done. Just had to navigate around quite a few bugs and spiders in amongst all those rocks. That's why I do it myself, because other people, not mentioning any names, Julie, would be worrying about all the spiders and everything. I've been bitten by a redback, so nothing else is going to harm me. So it wasn't real nice, the effects of getting bitten by a redback, but I survived. So now I know that I'm not allergic to them. It doesn't matter if I get bitten again. So this tree that's hanging over, you could say it's a bit of a menace. It's wrecking the fence. It's the neighbour's tree, but I love it for the shade, so I'm just pruning it a little bit, and I'm going to put the clothesline up underneath there. So I will put a roof on it so that in winter we can hang the clothes out there and it won't get rained on. And in summer, you know, we might have birds that shit all over the clothes, so we don't want that either. So yeah, I'll get a roof built. Be sort of a job to do fairly soon. Be good once the plumber's been here and cleaned up all this rubble. All that rubble there, that's from the tank stand. It was just solid stone and mud. They just, I guess they made the outer bit and then they just filled it up with mud and stone, and it was pretty solid. He had a bit of trouble breaking it apart to start with, but once he broke off a corner of it, then the rest crumbled. So this is hard work, especially when you're doing it when it's hot. It's not that enjoyable, but... And there's roots from that tree. They were giving me a hard time as well. So I worked out how far I needed to go, and got a point on the post hole digger, so I knew how far. So when I put that in, I just checked it and went, yeah, that looks about right. As it turns out, it's a little bit high, but I do have to build the ground up a bit there, and then I'll pave it. So I will make it a bit higher. I'll probably have a step up, just so that I don't want Julie straining when she uses it. So I'll put a raised floor on it there, just so she's not having to stretch the back to hang the clothes and whatnot out. So yeah, I had a bit of trouble here with a root, or a couple of roots. It was I had to chop it with the crowbar there, and then once I got the little piece out, then I could continue digging. You can see it was hard yakka, and I was in the sun there. The sun just saps me of energy. I had no one home at the time to give me a hand to like take over for a bit, so just had to persevere with it. So figured out that that was too close, so needed to bring the hole over a bit. So I just dug the side of it a bit with the crowbar and then pulled it out with the post hole digger. So assembled it on the trestles. Now one thing I didn't do was, a little trick is to put a plank in the hole so that when you lift that up it slides down and falls in. I didn't do that, but it fell in. It didn't crumble the shoulder of that hole very much. So, but it may have stopped it from going all the way in, and we may have lost 50 mil, or we've got 50 mil of extra height there maybe. Not sure. It was a hot day and I just wanted to get the job done. I thought I had it right, but it did turn out a bit too high. So I'm just I've got some gravel that I put down around our bonfire pit for when I had my birthday last year. So I'm just getting that. So I'm getting the gravel, and I've got some plaster of sand, and I've got a bag of bright and light cement. So I'll get Grandma's old hoe, mix all that up. I'll show you in a sec. It's funny, cracks me up. Look at this. You can't really see it, but it's all rusted away. The handle's all rotted and splintered, and yeah, but it's a good little hoe. I'm going to actually restore it. It's cool, but for the moment it's a good little tool for mixing up the concrete. I used to get quickset cement for doing jobs like this. Then I realised that just ordinary concrete you put in there, and by the time you get all the air pockets out, the post doesn't go anywhere, you know, because it kind of, when it's level, it kind of holds itself. So you just push it where it needs to be, check it a few times, and Bob's your uncle. It doesn't go anywhere. And turned out that the amount of concrete I mixed up was just a perfect amount for what I needed to do. Just getting as much in there as I can. Checking for level again. Yep, still looking good. I'm just gonna, now that I can see the clothesline in there while that's drying, I can get up and actually pruning the tree to get rid of all the branches that are pointing down so that it will continue to grow and give us more shade, but it won't grow down to where the clothes are. So I'll have to keep doing this every year probably, but you know, it's I don't want to lob them off and get rid of the beautiful shade that we're getting from it. So I didn't include the making of these brackets because the video is already getting a bit long, but I made up these brackets just out of some of the 90 by 35 stud timber that I've got, and two pieces joined together, cut the curve in it and drilled the holes. Now I will be putting some putty in the join so that it looks like one piece of timber, but for the moment I'm just getting it painted. I can come back and fill that gap and repaint that. So what I thought I'd do is make it so the flutes are white, or it's actually a cream colour that we've started using, and I'll come along afterwards with the red and it'll leave the white in the flutes. So look at that, just roll on with a nice firm. Now this is a roller for rolling satin or gloss paint, so it's just a very thin foam roller, so it doesn't go into the flutes. So it's left it with the white in the flutes, and then everything else will be red. Good little effect, makes it look a little bit more interesting than just being flat. This little roller made my life easy painting all this. I would normally brush it on, but tell you what, the roller got it done in no time flat. So just going around now and brushing all the little corners that I couldn't get into with the roller. And I was actually surprised with this foam roller how good a coat it put in. So here's me and Julie trying to untangle the wire. Obviously I've done it the hard way. Rather than have two people to start with, I've jumped the gun and now we had this bird's nest to try and get out. It reminded me of the days I used to go fishing. So we probably spent half an hour or so getting this tangled mess untangled. I think we both did well to keep our cool. I think Julie was a bit annoyed that I didn't wait for her, but oh well. She didn't get mad with me. I could see I had to be careful what I said. Didn't want to push my luck. But we got it out and we got the job done. Once we got the job done, we forgot all about the knot. Of course, I got you can get 10 meters, or the next one's 30 meters. So I probably needed 15 meters. What I 3, 10? No. So there you have it. That's where we are now at Rose Villa. So I hope you enjoyed seeing a few things happening, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up. In fact, do it right now. And yeah, I'll see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers.